Hi, good day. This is Carl.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm doing great.
How are you, Julie Wasmer? We have Julie Wasmer with White Hawk Wisdom today, and I'm Karla LaRive. I'm really excited to be here with you, honey. And this is our second episode. And I was thinking in light of, the cosmos and a lot of things that we do talk about together as we've known each other for over 50 years. So kind of grew up in the same mindset, if you were. We're both Southern Californians and both from Los Angeles originally. So give you that right there. So I thought we would pull my tarot cards today. And I'm just going to do three. And mind you, I'm just going to preface this by saying I am not the world's greatest tarot reader. So these are just for Julie. This will set the tone for Julie's subject today. And Julie's subject today, by the way, is a shift in consciousness. Pretty good, huh? So, Julie, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's just put the intention to call on our guides and angels to help us with the reading today on the tarot.
Well, shift in consciousness is a very interesting subject. So, uh,
There's a lot happening, and if you haven't felt it, it's on this planet right now. This is really what all the energies are showing from so many different walks of life in everything that we see.
absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to think about this. I'm going to cut the cards and I'm going to go
Okay.
ahead and then take your three off the top. So we'll go ahead there. And we're just doing three because sometimes it gets a little complicated when we get into more. And oh, this is interesting. So and it's kind of right on subject matter. And
Well, that's cool.
so we're going to talk about the past influences, which if you can see this, this is the King of Wands.
Okay.
It's a very creative and it's a card of communications too, but got a pretty powerful meaning. And the current, of course, is the fluctuation that we were speaking of, which is the shift of consciousness, which is in the moon.
Okay.
And then, of course, our future card is it kind of lays itself on the topic that you want to dive into later on, which is the wisdom seekers and what they can tell us about the future. And if you can see that, let's get the camera in there. Oops,
Yes.
sorry. And that's the Wheel of Fortune.
So the
Ooh.
wisdom seekers.
Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune is the wisdom seeker. So that's going to give you, you don't really know which way it's going to go.
No, you don't.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I think that's because we've got so many people that we have those that are seeking the wisdom, which this show, by the way, this White Hawk Wisdom Soulcast is targeted towards.
Right.
So
You
what
know,
we are trying to do is bring awareness, and for those that are seeking something deeper, seeking more truth, feeling the shifts that are happening in the universe right now, understanding that we have galactic things that are going on, that we're having. The sun has huge solar flares that have been coming out of it for the last few months, and they've been very, very active in the last week or two. Um, Ginormous coronal masses, which then cause the electromagnetic field to shift. That's what's causing all of the aurora borealises in different places in the planet that they've never occurred before.
mhm.
Fortunately, we're too south here in Los Angeles to see that, but you might get something in Hot Springs, South Dakota,
Mhm.
where you're at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can see it from well, we have an area that doesn't have that much light pollution. And some of the darkest places here in America exist in the central part, hi Kitty, exist in the central part of our state. So, and when I say no light pollution, I mean, you don't even have a neighbor for 50 miles. So you don't have a city center or anything of that nature.
We're heading to
But
visit. This is Katie, everybody.
yeah,
She wants to be a part of
Kitty
this
loves,
podcast.
she loves the
She
podcast
does.
of the
You're silly.
camera. She's jealous. I have all mine, but they're down yonder. Um, Speaking of souls, soul cast, animals, and not to get off on another subject, but animals do carry so much energy, and they are a great way to find solace, companionship, um, without judgment, unconditional.
They also, not only that, but they also carry their own frequency.
Mm,
So they actually help support humanity.
mm,
Um, just the purring in a cat calms the nervous system in humans,
mm.
which is
Tell,
really fascinating.
tell us more that you know of this, because I think it's fascinating that you can hear them across the room. Say if you come into a room and one's really happy to see you, and all of a sudden it's just got that motor running.
Yeah, and so I think they feel they are tuned in to something, a
Mm,
vibration that's different than what we can sense.
mm, mm,
And dogs as well. I think
mm,
they're just different in the way that they tune into different frequencies.
mhm, mhm,
So, but they understand. Cats really understand human behavior and human emotions. And I think they're
mhm,
here. That's why so many people, especially people that are wisdom seekers, they tend to
mm,
be more cat people.
mhm. Yeah,
You've always
I
seen that. The
noticed
people
that.
that are a little bit more psychic or whatever, they've always had cats. And it's funny because I was always a dog family. I never had a cat until Kitty
Yeah,
appeared in our lives, and she was brought to us by our son as a legacy, in our family now.
exactly.
And so turning into cat people, which I had never been, is really a new phenomenon. And so
Yeah,
studying that and learning about it and learning their behaviors and what they do and then reading about them is always fascinating. Um,
yeah.
it's funny because they really enjoy when I'm doing energy healing.
Imagine.
Um, Katie loves it. I mean,
I
she'll come
bet she's
in
just drawn to it.
completely drawn to it,
Mm-hmm.
and so she gets it. She gets the feeling from that. And I think that she's very happy right now. She's got a little tail wagging. She knows that we're working on something special today.
So let's talk a little bit about what's happening. And you know what? We talk about cats' importance of the cats and their healing um, capabilities, but what with your particular work do you feel can give to another? I know that you've done some incredible stuff. If we want, we can share her website. And Julie, you can also share more information about what you do at your website too. But today we wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of healing and why are people seeking so much now instead of just saying, well, that's the way it used to be and that's the way it's always going to be, like in our ancestral sort of generational
Right.
up.
Well, let's talk about this shift in consciousness. I think
Okay.
that's first and foremost. So, what does it mean to have a shift in consciousness? We're starting to discover new things about ourselves. We're beginning to remember things that literally were unconscious in our minds
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we, never thought of before. And things are happening so rapidly. And what this means is that we have frequencies that are shifting into higher vibrations on the planet. And that's what the shift in consciousness is. We live in what we've known since we were birthed here. Some people are born, I think, with a little bit more intuitive and psychic abilities, but we live in a reality of the third dimension. And so, what is the third dimension? It's matter. We've
Mm-hmm.
created our life based on thought, and thought creates matter. And that is what really the third dimension is.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is the planets, there's so much, there's things cosmically with astrology that has been going on, that's new shifts that are happening now that have never occurred in any human's lifetime that are living on the planet right now, that are bringing different frequencies of consciousness to not just humanity, but it's happening to the earth herself and to other planets in our solar system.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just the fact that everything is consciousness, everything is thought. So think about it this way. When we die, we shed our physical body, but our soul is still living. And so, how do we communicate? What is it that our soul gets to experience? It's all done through thought.
Mm.
So, thought holds our words, and our thoughts hold a vibrational frequency. So, I'm going to get back to the healing part and why it's so important, but I want a little bit of a context of understanding of what's happening. So, as we create new things and the world is changing, we need to move along at this higher pace frequency with the planets who are also moving into their consciousness and higher levels of consciousness. And this is happening throughout humanity because it's happening to all sentient species in the world, in the universe, and on our planet. And so all the animals, all nature,
Mm.
um, all humanity, it's all interconnected. We are all part of this, like I would call it like a web,
Mm.
of
Mm.
consciousness. And
Mm.
whatever one person does has a ripple effect on everything in the world, everything in our universe. So you think of it like throwing a pebble into the ocean or a lake, and you
Mm.
see like the ripples just start to expand out like a vibration. Same
Mm.
thing with the frequency of an earthquake. You see, something, you see that expansion and how that ripples out. It's the
Mm.
same thing with consciousness, and so with thought.
Mm.
So what's happening is that as the earth is going through this shift in consciousness, and as mankind is part of that shift, we are now seeing patterns and beliefs, a lot of old belief systems that are starting to break apart because they're no longer going to stay current and hold their lower vibrational frequency as we move into a higher frequency.
Mm.
So when you look at the emotional scale and you look at the lower emotions of consciousness, where we have fear and we have shame and we have these feelings of unworthiness, based upon our religious backgrounds, what we've been told, what we've gone through generationally,
Mhm.
they're encoded in our DNA. And our DNA is now starting to, I would call it come online, is what I want the term that I'm just going to use for lack of not being able to think of something else. But it's starting to come more online with the different energies that are hitting the planet right now. And some of those things you can see actually through the solar flares that we're having, through the huge coronal masses that are opening up in the sun, causing these beautiful aurora borealises. And there's different light wave patterns that are sending information to us. I mean, they're also sending radio, activity and a lot of other things that could be harmful to our physical bodies because they do disrupt that. But the emotional aspect of humanity has gone back for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And emotions are always something, emotions and thought still stay with us, in my belief, and what I've read, when we transition.
Mhm.
We just don't feel the density of it and how it was painful for us on the
Mhm.
planet in the third
Mhm.
dimension.
Mhm.
So, the reason why healing right now, I think, has so much power is that as the universe, as we go through, as the world goes through this shift, the old patterns and the old concepts and the old emotional traumas that go back from your lifetime through your ancestral lineage, the DNA lineage, and through many, many, many past lifetimes that your soul has lived.
Mhm. Mhm.
They're showing up now, the ones that it's the karmic ones, the ones that you are living through in this lifetime that are causing um, usually some kind of emotional or physical problem within the body because we emanate our physical mass. Again, remember, matter happens from thought and emotion. So those things show up based on what we've held beliefs on, what we're thinking, what our emotional things are, what the traumatic events in our life have been, the more that we hang on to those, the more dense and the more, the lower, I should say, our frequency is within our being. And we can't, we are light. Our heart is our gateway,
Mm.
for our soul, and we are light. And so we need to raise that vibrational frequency in our
Mm.
bodies and in our hearts and in our ethereal bodies so that we can transition and move into this higher wave of consciousness so that we can become what they're calling the new future human to live
Mm.
on the new earth.
That leads me to this question of seeking. So in our DNA, is it common to understand that in every evolution of human existence, whether we come from the stars and other systems, or we are here as evolutionary beings, everything has a cause and effect,
Yes.
essentially, in our process, in our energy, in the energy that we receive and the energy that we give. So when I ask this question, I think to myself, there must be a lot of people, myself included, who may say, yeah, I need to go and, experience this or that because something's bugging me. Something's not aligning and it's bothering me. It's keeping me up at night. It's keeping me from eating well. It's keeping me in a cycle of addiction. It's keeping me in bad behavioral patterns with my family, or vice versa, no boundaries. And the list goes on psychologically. So when I think about some people have gone through all of that, what I've just listed in terms of psychoanalysis and seeking uh, all kinds of ways to feel connected. So I think at this time with the cosmos and the way that the universe is present, there are people who are actually being literally drawn to helping. Is that the best way to say it?
Well, are you referring to the
Like,
people that are sort of waking up right now to be of service and to like the
both,
so-called the
both.
light workers is what
Yes,
is
both.
what they're called.
Waking up and those who are being touched by those that are waking up.
Yes. Well, I believe that we knew who we were, who we came in to be when we incarnated into this lifetime. And this is a very, very special time in humanity and in the Earth's history. This is, as far as I know, has never occurred before. And so we're in a completely revolutionary time in change. And it's a really beautiful change, but so many people are in the fear cycle
Mm.
because the control, which we've all witnessed, the control from the top, which has influenced humanity for so many years to control us, to keep us in war mindset, to keep us um, being victimized, to keep us being slaves, to keeping us not having our free will, right? To be able to really enact upon our desires and our free will, being locked up in a money system that only benefits certain people at the top. That's been a huge thing that's happened throughout our history, which has excluded the basic needs of humanity from the fact that we have people that still live on this planet that don't have running water, don't have a toilet that flushes, and don't have access to food is just blows me away that the consciousness of that still exists. And these are these old patterns that have shown up. And I think that what's happened is that these, I'm going to call them light codes, because the light that's been generating into the planet, and I believe that it's been going on for a while, but I think the big transition of this was 2019 to 2020, 2021, and now beyond. So I think it's all the COVID era. It was
Mm.
the pandemic era. And it's the codes that have come through are waking the what we're going to call the light workers up, the people that did incarnate on this planet to help others move through this time in history.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people are having these experiences now, and you're going to see more and more where they are getting what we're going to call downloads of information that are just coming from, spirit. They're
Mm-hmm.
coming from the source, they're coming from God, they're coming from the higher realms of consciousness. So if we look at quantum physics and quantum, the dynamics of that,
Mm-hmm.
it's this information highway that's out there that we all have access to, but we've been so shut down emotionally and so shut down in our ability to think outside of what we only can see with our eyes and hear with our ears and smell with our nose and taste and touch, that so many of us have had a hard time believing in something that can't be seen.
Right. It's,
And I think that really goes into our spirituality
mm-hmm.
and to why also, especially I think in the United States,
Mm.
why we've had such a pushback and such a divide in the contrast of um, believing, I believe, in God or a higher power. We've
Mm-hmm.
really been pushed away to not move into our spiritual self.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking religion. And I think that's one of the reasons that maybe it was pushed away, because I think religion can have the effect to some people to push people away from touching into their spirituality because it's being confined to only one doctrine and one belief.
Mm-hmm.
And what feels truth in your own heart is really the most important thing. And when our
Mm-hmm.
hearts get closed up because of the hurts, because of the emotional aspect that we've been through, the losses in our lives, the breakups of families, the abuse that we've endured, uh, the limiting beliefs from all of this different dogma that I'm speaking of, we shut down. And then what happens is that we start to move into a closed way of existence, living very unconsciously, because we can't seem to shed or break open that heart to be able to really feel. We're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been pushed, fear has been pushed on us and it keeps getting pushed on us. And we have nothing to fear because there's so much beauty in the world and we can access all of that internally.
Mm.
So I'll go back to why healing is so important, because I've just kind of covered this in a very esoteric way.
You did,
I
indeed.
really did.
It's okay.
But I hope I hope people can understand that.
I think
Where
it's a perspective that it's important to share because I know that with the work that you do with the emotion code, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a second here, but I think with the actual healing work that you have applied with clients and others, I feel that there is a connectiveness that's greater than self. And a lot of times we don't understand it because A, conventional psychology says no, uh, organized religion says no, you know. Um, so we have to seek other ways, and in the light of a new age, which is where we are, um, so many people say, "Hey, there's got to be another way. There's got to be something to make me feel a little bit better than I'm feeling right now in the moment." So,
and the way out,
yeah,
the
please
way
continue.
out, it's through.
Mm,
The way out is through, and you got to go through the heart.